Well, I am back, ladies and gentlemen. It has been too long that I have done a video of any form of shape like this. It has been over a year since I've done my 25th annual Kids' Choice Awards review, which was an overnight success. Since then, I've only uploaded 3 videos. 2 of them were firework malfunctions, and then the last one I did was the 4th annual Cat Fight, the last few moments, in which I'd like to announce that my other channel, TNN Sports, will bring you the entire 4th annual Cat Fight in May, pending on schedule. But enough about that promotion. Let's talk about a preview that I've been thinking about doing for the last couple of days, and it's kind of one of those deals that I want to do for the fact that this will be happening in a few days. Matter of fact, this Sunday at MetLife Stadium, you know it, I do, WrestleMania 29, and this is my opinion of what may happen and my predictions of the whole outcome. It has been 10 years ago since some people arguably could say one of the best WrestleManias, arguably could be said one of the last real good WrestleManias, and that was WrestleMania 19 at Safeco Field in Seattle, Washington. In fact, 7 of them are going to be in this year's WrestleMania. 6 by their current gimmick or name or appearance. One of them, it will be in it, but the key difference is a different gimmick and a different ring name. You figure that out. So, here's what I'm talking about. Each and every single matches that's going to happen on WrestleMania 29 as of Monday Night Raw last night. And so far there's 9 of main cards and 1 pre-show. Let's start off with the 8-person mixed tag team matchup, which will be Tons of Funk with Brodus Clay and Tensai, along with the Funkadactyls or Cameron and Naomi, against the Team Rhodes Scholars of Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow, along with the Bella Twins, Nikki and Brie. Some people may say, some people, even I, will agree that should be the pre-show. We'll be talking about what will be the pre-show as scheduled in a moment. But let's talk about this 8-person mixed tag team matchup. Personally, this one is gone. The matter of fact is the Bella Twins trying to bring class to the Divas, and which has fallen apart over the last several months, with Eve's absence among others leaving, some only being as so-called managers or valets. But here's the bottom line. They're trying to make a name of themselves after joining back to WWE just a handful of weeks ago. We're still talking about the Bella Twins. They're partnered up with the Rhodes Scholars, in which they at first broke up and only wanted to be just stay as friends and just compete in singles. Well, that didn't last very long. They came back together since the last pay-per-view at Elimination Chamber, which was supposed to be a one-and-done reunion, but it's since then reunited. Some people have also said the Rhodes Scholars should get their 3rd matchup with the New Age Outlaws, and which could all make sense. Well, my correction. It would be the New Age Outlaws' 3rd match. It'll be the 2nd against the Rhodes Scholars, as you saw the last time. The only time they have fought, it ended with Brock Lesnar doing F5s and all that stuff to Road Dogg and Billy Gunn. The first one that the Outlaws has competed since they returned for only that moment of time was Primo and Epico. That's where I'm getting it confused. But bear with us, folks. That will happen every once in a while, but you just gotta have to understand and go with the flow. But as far as who's going to win this one, I think the Rhodes Scholars and Bella Twins may have something under their sleeves. They may have something to prove, and then probably in the end they will end up winning. Before we go on to the next one, let's talk about Tensai. He's one of the 7 wrestlers that competed in WrestleMania 19 that a decade later is competed to this day. But you may ask yourself, Tensai, yes, he did compete a decade ago with a different name. He was known as A-Train when he, along with the Big Show, competed with The Undertaker in a handicap match that eventually the dead man rised again and put himself 11-0 at the time. That's why there's 7. Theoretically, you should say 6, but overall there were 7. But As far as the 8-person mixed tag team match, that should be... I wouldn't be surprised if it lasts like about a good 7 minutes, or maybe even less than that for that matter. Maybe right now as I speak in the current time, about 5 minutes and 10 seconds into this preview, that match would have been over by now. Who knows? All I do know, it won't be an 18-second matchup like what happened with the World Heavyweight Championship with Daniel Bryan against Sheamus. That, I don't see that happening this year at all. However, before we go on to the next matchup, let's talk about the Divas division and also Antonio Cesaro real quick. Caitlyn holds the title. Some people even thought that she and AJ will compete for that title. And it looks like with a few days before the biggest pay-per-view of the year, there's possibly not gonna happen. It's not gonna probably happen. That's the sad thing about it, because it has fallen apart since Eve's absence and Kelly along with lack of appearances for that matter. If anything, Tamina Snuka could compete again with Caitlyn for the title if possible, but that hasn't happened, and we know pretty much the whole story. Hope maybe in the long run, maybe as the year goes on, they might bring it back into its relevance, but at this point, there's not much relevance at all. And now everybody has also been complaining for the fact that Cesaro deserves a match. Cesaro should have a match. Cesaro, this is for the United States title. He deserves one. I question his yodeling though. That's a different story that I will not go into further detail. He should have a match, and personally, it should be The Miz against Cesaro. And then our next matchup, Wade Barrett and Chris Jericho for the Intercontinental title. But no, this is where we move on. Jericho 10 years ago competed with the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. But instead of getting a possible Jericho versus Barrett for the Intercontinental title and trying to extend his legacy to add another Intercontinental title and name in his belt, instead we get a puny, no good, punk ass wannabe of many attitude, ruthless aggression era wrestlers before him, and that is Fandango, Fuckdango, Fagdingo, whatever you want to call him. For those people who cannot stand him like myself, be sure to like my Facebook page that I invented called People Against Fandango. Yes, I'll repeat it again. People Against Fandango. Make sure to like it and share your side of Fandango, whether you hate him or you just want him gone from existence. He personally does not deserve a match or make his real debut at WrestleMania. He doesn't deserve. WrestleMania is meant for people that earn their right or earn their way to get into the big dance. Instead, Fandango gets one with his pretty valet or dancer, whatever her name is. Please tell me if anybody out there. Please tell me who she is, if anything for that matter. Was she a wrestler then, or what is she? Is she an NXT wrestler or anything? Please let me know. Comment below. Who is that Fandango's chick? I've been asking that question for a long time. But enough of that. But pretty much, Fandango has this bitchy of a personality that he will not wrestle until he get his name right. And then Chris Jericho, being Chris Jericho from way back to his Attitude Era WCW days, mocking people's name, like he would call Mean Gene Orkla Gene Mean, or among the many names he has butchered intentionally to get him under their skin. Fandango probably took it too far. He took it too far from under his skin. And guess what happened? The last night's Raw, he was like a judge, like critiquing Jericho's attacks or moves over Cesaro. And then Jericho realized he has had enough and decided to kick Fandango's no good dancing ass into the floor. And then after he forced Cesaro to tap out, there Fandango, being typical Fandango, verbally yells in a gruesome, violent manner to get his name right. Then he started punching at him, and Jericho pretty much has had enough. He's understood. He knows that Fandango has attacked him the last 3 matches that he has competed. He's looking for revenge. And if there's anything, there's a couple matches that I really can go either way or don't care who wins. But there's some that deserves to lose. Fandango deserves to get his no good punk ass annihilated by Y2J, if anything. So yes, Chris Jericho all the way. End the story. Hopefully he ends that no good bastard of a gimmick called Fandango. Hopefully he goes back to his Johnny Curtis persona. Now let's talk about the Intercontinental Championship, which is, believe it or not, the pre-show. We talked about the 8-person mixed tag team matchup should be the pre-show. The Intercontinental should never, ever, ever be a pre-show. Back in the day, the Intercontinental Championship meant something. Look at all the guys that has won the title in the past. Honky Tonk Man, Randy Savage, Tito Santana, Owen Hart. The Big Show even won it, to believe it or not. There are a lot of good wrestlers that has won it. Shawn Michaels. That used to mean something. And when I started watching Randy Savage's promos, he made the Intercontinental mean something. Yet he eventually did win the WWE Champion, then known as the WWF at the time. But during his promos, people talk about the Intercontinental Championship, and that stood me out at first. The Intercontinental Champion being some sort of a big deal. But if you put a once known valuable title like the Intercontinental Championship in a pre-show, that tells you something. That match should not deserve to be an Intercontinental Champion. As much as I love to hate The Miz with all my guts, you can see it's not awesome by any means necessary. Keep in mind, 2 years ago, he was main event status when he was the champion of the WWE. Now he's in pre-show. That tells you a lot of things. It looks like he went from the top of the world, now he's at rock bottom. And I think Wade Barrett deserves a better of a card matchup than just a pre-show. Who knows, if that match somehow, someway steals the whole show and that is the pre-show and nothing else goes good as advertised, that could be pretty embarrassing for the matter of the fact. That would be pretty bad, bottom line. So yes, who I go with this one? I say definitely without a doubt Wade Barrett will maintain his title. And Miz will be typical Miz, being not awesome, saying he's the most must-see WrestleMania performer since Shawn Michaels, or even greater. Ladies and gentlemen, Miz is not meant for WrestleMania. Everybody knows it. I know it for the matter of a fact. This whole thing pretty much kind of mostly started with the fact that they do have their own movies. They say who's the better actor, who's not, and all that. And then the whole Triple Threat Intercontinental Championship bout with those two and Jericho before Jericho had to fight with that piece of shit of Fandango. I wonder how that one go. But keep in mind, that could perhaps steal the show, who knows. But Wade Barrett is my pick for this one. Now we're getting to the nitty gritty. Let's talk about the no holds bar match. If I had to pick 3 matches I'm looking forward to, it would be that one, Punk against The Undertaker, and the World Heavyweight Championship. Let's start off with the no holds bar match. This is a rematch from SummerSlam in which Lesnar broke Triple H's arm for the second time in that year, putting a questionable doubt that might have been the end of the game. But since he came back after Brock Lesnar F5, Vince McMahon put him in hip replacement surgery and all of that stuff, then attacking the New Age Outlaws, so he said his enough is enough. Triple H came back as the moment he was gonna assault McMahon again. That from there, we knew it was gonna get pretty interesting from there. And so there's been a so humorous thing that Triple H came back for a retirement match. That's one of those memes that I have read or seen all over my daily life that I have outside of school and during the spring break that I have right now, which is the reason why I'm doing this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank goodness enough, because I've been looking for a video to do, if anything for that matter. So yes, the stipulation is, if Brock Lesnar beats Triple H, he has to retire. Here's an interesting fact. When it comes to career-threatening matches, especially recent times, it has not fallen in the favor to Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels. It has not fallen in the favor. Career-threatening matches not really fallen in the favor to some people. especially come WrestleMania in particular. So could this be the end of the game? I'm not saying that, but personally, if I had to pick one, I would go with Triple H. Here's another rumor, so-called rumor or true reality as well, however you want to view it. The new pay-per-view that will replace No Way Out is called Payback. No, not the movie and not the James Brown record or album. I meant that's the new pay-per-view called The Payback. And I saw a promotional poster on Wikipedia before they took that one down. It shows a Brock Lesnar on the poster. It could mean two things, in my opinion. Could this mean Triple H will win his match? Or there's an interesting story, and that could be pretty interesting. It'll be something to keep an eye on. Paul Heyman, the Battle of the Heymans. Here's what I'm saying. Brock Lesnar against CM Punk. That could happen, ladies. That could happen. It could happen. But who knows? We cannot foreshadow or we cannot predict the future. What will happen? We just gotta see how it unfolds at WrestleMania 29 this Sunday on pay-per-view to figure out what will be next for Brock Lesnar. But Lesnar will be around for quite a while. Apparently, he also signed a 2-year deal for his return. So Lesnar will be around for a long time. But the question is, could this be the end of the game? Is this the end of Triple H? He and Lesnar competed 10 years ago. Triple H had a match with Booker T, and of course Brock Lesnar competing for the WWE title against Kurt Angle, and ended with injury. And the so-called one of the most memorable botches in history. When Lesnar tried to attempt the move, backfired completely. He was injured, and then the rest goes from there. But Triple H has a view is kind of one of those many matches that is very personal for Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Shawn Michaels said he's going to be on his corner. He's trying to say that his match in comparison to Shawn Michaels' back-to-back matches against The Undertaker, particularly the last one, has nothing to do, no comparison at all. In fact, he said that he respects Shawn Michaels, respects The Undertaker, and The Undertaker respects him back. And saying that Lesnar contradicts that mark, that he doesn't respect anybody in his path. Doesn't respect the McMahons, doesn't respect the DX members, doesn't respect anybody. He's just out there to attack and cause havoc and chain reaction to anybody in his path. Now let's go back to Triple H for a moment and going back to the pre-show as we mentioned. Triple H, as he was leaving, Wade Barrett comes in and interrupts his closing. So Triple H decided to kick him in the crotch, the ball sack, however you want to say it. And that kind of affected Barrett, and this whole Intercontinental Championship came to be. And you know how the result came, Miz won, end of story, blah, blah, blah. But that's what happens when you interfere with Triple H. You don't want to mess with him. The same thing when it comes to his personal life. Paul Heyman brings up Stephanie McMahon a lot. You saw what happened on Raw 1000. You saw what happened a couple weeks ago when he had to sign the contract before the stipulation comes into play. If you remember, Heyman and McMahon were part of the whole alliance and the invasion with the ECW section, while Shane McMahon was taking care of the WCW and Stone Cold Steve Austin with his heel role. Now, as you can tell, Heyman is making it personal. So Triple H will come out and do whatever he takes to beat Lesnar. I also read a comment on Facebook as well that kind of interesting. Some said, what would happen if Shawn Michaels turns against him? Some people said that what would happen if he turns against him and helps Brock win, or anything for that matter. What do you think about that? What do you think if that were to happen? Would it be interesting, or you don't think that's going to happen? Those are just what other people think. And before we move on to our match that I'm going to talk about, make sure to comment your opinion. Comment on who's going to win each one of the matches and why. Or share your own opinion, why you hate this wrestler, why you think he should retire, this or that. Or any of your own thoughts of what could happen, what might happen, what you believe in the rumors or not. Feel free. And I will gladly read it because what the WWE universe write is pretty interesting to look at. Because they think of one thing, they think about the other. They have all their opinions. It's kind of like English writing. They have their own opinions. Kind of like that. It's like a debate class for some sort. They have their own opinions. Feel free to comment of who's gonna win or all that stuff. Now, as far as who I'm picking, I say somehow, some way could go either way, but Lesnar may have something. If not, Triple H could go away with the win, but barely. And see what happens with Lesnar with the whole, as we go into Payback pay-per-view. And I don't even know how Payback is. I think we'll learn later on after a few months. Because after WrestleMania will be Extreme Rules, and then that's where Payback comes along, and then Money in the Bank. Speaking of Money in the Bank, let's talk about the Tag Team Championship match against Team Hell No with Kane and Daniel Bryan. Yes, if you're wondering, as I'm thinking about it right now, there's actually been 8 wrestlers that were in WrestleMania 19. Kane was part of a Sunday Night Heat matchup before the main event. That's back when Sunday Night Heat was pretty much the pre-show of any pay-per-view before pre-shows were on YouTube or even on your pay-per-view provider. As I'm thinking about, yes, he was one of the 8, not 7, but he was one of the 8. It's probably because I didn't care or bother to mention pre-shows as a consideration of being counted, because it's a pre-show, not on a pay-per-view stand. You decide whether you believe pre-shows should be counted as far as time flashbacks like WrestleMania 19 or any of the prior 28 that we have witnessed. Some have, some haven't, or know about it. But Team Hell No against Dolph Ziggler and Biggie Langston. All I'm going to say about Biggie Langston is about damn time he's going to freaking wrestle for once. He knows when to attack. And recently, he's showing a little bit of character. Like he almost would have been chokeslammed by Kane, but Biggie Langston reversed it, attacked him. And I even have a joke on humor saying that Biggie Langston is nothing. He's just a waste of muscle. Well, that was back when he didn't do nothing but shit. To just stand there posing himself, showing his waste of muscles and so-called, not even gonna say, feel free to talk about it. You pretty much know the whole darn story about it. But yes, Ziggler still has his Money in the Bank contract on the line. He can cash in whatever he wants, but I don't think he's gonna cash it in on WrestleMania. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think he would cash it in just yet. I think that we'll have to wait for quite some time. But if he had to, it could be pretty interesting. Biggie Langston is, I'm not sure if he's still the NXT champion. I would like to check that right now, but I kind of want to stay consistent and focus on this match. But yes, those two will be accompanied by AJ Lee. You could call it whatever you want as long as you don't mention that 5-letter word that starts with a C and ends with a Y. But personally, I think that I personally saw that AJ Lee along with Paul Heyman will appear twice. Paul Heyman will have 2 matches as manager. He'll be with Lesnar and CM Punk. And AJ, I thought he was going to be just accompanied by Ziggler and Biggie Langston, and then also get his shot at a Divas title with Caitlyn, which is not likely going to happen. But who knows what happens at SmackDown, but I don't see that happening with a few days remaining like we have right now, talking about it as we speak. But to be honest, I think this could be the end of Team Hell No. Here's why. If AJ interferes or distracts them from dominating this match, it could be a pretty interesting story with them not being a champions. They could break up because they probably have enough is enough, especially a couple weeks early in 2013. They were kind of like falling apart like no other. They were in situations that they had one arm tied on their back or have a mask on when they competed twice, and when they both had to experience that against the primetime players. And it seemed like they seem to get better, but right now they just try to get focused. And also they have the argument that they blame Kane, or he blames them, he blames that for their loss and all that. It's science that tells me if AJ distracts them, like what AJ did to Daniel Bryan in the World Heavyweight title that lasted 18 seconds, could that happen again? But not the kissing sequence? Who knows? Or karma will be against Mr. Ziggler and Biggie Langston on this given night at MetLife Stadium. Think about it. What do you think? Will AJ be a factor of this whole outcome, or it will be a battle till the very end? But I would say Ziggler and Langston might be champion. If not, Team Hell No will maintain their title. We're just gonna have to find out. This one could go either way, but I could see the end of Team Hell No perhaps happening on Sunday. Now, the battle of the powerhouse, Ryback against the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. It has gone too far, to say the least. Mark Henry, being the poor sportsman in his role, almost tried to kill him and interfere from Ryback to break the world record of bench pressing 225 pounds, in which he had 53. Ryback had tied him, and then he did his thing, and because of that, they were not allowed to make contact of one another, not until Sunday. And then Mark Henry blames him that he touched him. Instead, Ryback used Santino Marella as a ragdoll and hit him because he knew he couldn't touch him, and then they got into an argument and they have to wait. But yes. But before we go talk about that, Santino Marella, you should have kept your mouth shut. He comes back, does his pissed off vlog, which is kind of funny to say the least. And no surprise, his match lasts for less than a minute. I wasn't really surprised that it lasted less than a minute because he didn't really do nothing, just waited for the moment that Mark Henry would do the world's strongest slam on Marella. It comes to show you that's what happens when you're the first wrestler eliminated at the Royal Rumble, the only one that has happened to you twice. That tells you a lot, but Marella seems to never catch a break in anything as in these last few years. This one will be interesting, but who will be on top at the very end? I could see Ryback winning. I could see Mark Henry winning. This one, in my opinion, it'll be a wild card matchup. Could go either way. But if I had to pick one, I say Mark Henry could. I wouldn't be surprised if Mark Henry would end Ryback and put him on his table and say his lines of that's what I do. Both of them know what to do, but this could go either way. That could be the dark horse match that could be good, but may not talk about. We'll see. And then the 6-man tag team match: Sheamus, Randy Orton, and the Big Show against the Shield. Undefeated since their debut at the Survivor Series. At first, the Big Show was not a part of this matchup. It was supposed to be Ryback. But Ryback had his own personal thing with Henry, so he had to back out. And the Big Show, Sheamus, and Orton, the Celtic Viper show, the key thing. Here's the one thing. They have to work as a unit. They have to coexist one another. Well, not really coexist. They have to try-exist one another. In order to beat the Shield, and which have been very strong and consistent. Okay, here's another question I'm asking you. Which one of the Shield stands out the most? Who is the leader? Is there really one? Is there not? Share your opinion. What do you think? But in the end, I will see somehow, some way, the Shield winning this match. Here's another interesting question. How will the Shield enter in this one in a big stadium like MetLife's? Like we're home of the Giants and the Nets, and if I believe also the New York Red Bulls, if I remember. How will they enter? Because they're gonna have a long way to get down to the ring with that big of a stadium. For that matter, it's a football field stadium to begin with. This is one of those things that I would keep, and I would like to know how that works. But yes, in the end, the Shield will win, and you pretty much have to believe in them. Justice will be served, end the story. But if Celtic Viper Show wins the match, could happen. What happens to the Shield? Will they fall apart? Will they seek revenge in the next several pay-per-views? What will happen? Stay tuned. Now, before we talk about perhaps the most anticipated matchup and many people want, one of the main reasons they would want to watch WrestleMania. Before we mention it, let's talk about Paul Heyman for just a brief second. We mentioned about the Payback pay-per-view about Lesnar and Punk. But Paul Heyman, he's in it twice. Paul Heyman is the speaker of Lesnar. If you wonder, Lesnar has not talked at all since his return. He has not said a darn word. So much that I had to look up if he even talked in the past. Yes, he certainly did talk in the past, but it's been too long to even remember, because I couldn't remember if Lesnar even talked to begin with. Heyman, could he I think he's to the point he's solidifying himself to be a WWE Hall of Famer in the future. He's done so much, especially with him being with Punk. He has given him that huge momentum advantage. He's become a lot better, but that's what happens when you work with Paul Heyman. You hit your stride and a heel roll no matter what. But that would be something if CM Punk competes with Brock Lesnar and the winner of that match, Heyman will stick with him and have to lead the other. That could be something interesting. But not going to happen in this WrestleMania for sure, because what would be bad for him is if he were to lose both of his matches. I wonder how that promo would be with Heyman losing both of his matches. But one has to go, one has to win, or even they will lose both. We'll see what happens. But yes, Paul Heyman is in it twice. Dare he to mock Paul, the late great Paul Bearer, by imitating him on last night's Raw, and which gets me to the topic. Paul Bearer. That's where the main vibe, the main build-up comes from against Punk and the Dead Man, The Undertaker. What will happen? This one of those matches is the one match I'll be keeping an eye on the very most, because it has gone personal. Could this be the end of the streak? Will it be 20 and Punk, or will The Undertaker once again rise to the occasion and be 21-0? And who knows, could this be his last WrestleMania, or WrestleMania 30 at the Superdome in New Orleans be his last? All of those questions are so rattling, and it's just weird and crazy to think about. Perhaps this could be the last match that The Undertaker will face, and this will be the very first. This will be my first WWE pay-per-view I'll be watching ever. What will happen? But CM Punk has crossed the line, but that's part of him being the heel. He's playing the role, the heel, to the next level of some sort. And since he's been a heel, he's been asking respect. He's been self-proclaimed the best in the world. But this whole build-up with The Undertaker is going to really cross the line, and I understand that the Bear's family, William Moody's family, accepted the fact they were okay with it. But if it was in real life, that's just pure disrespect. But that's part of the whole storyline. It builds up to the occasion. Same thing with the next matchup I'll talk about in a moment after this one. But The Undertaker had his saying last night, and then he had this weird, then his minions with the fire torturers. I can't remember what they're called right now on the top of my head, since I'm rattled up with overwhelmed with the whole Undertaker CM Punk matchup. Then Paul Bearer's famous phrase was played, and then I want to be an imposter, which obviously is Paul Heyman playing that role. Then Undertaker understood. He got really pissed off and was really angry and ready to attack somebody. So he tried to find Punk on one of his minions, and then Punk attacked him, beat him up, hit him in the back, in which he has been fragiled of some sort in his last two WrestleMania bouts against Triple H. And some even thought that he may take the year off, which would be the third time in his career. 1994 and 2000's WrestleMania were the only times he had not competed. If he did, he'd be 22-0, but he's 20-0, and as of right now, could be 20 in Punk or 21-0. Who knows what will happen? But the bottom line is, Punk attacked him, and perhaps the only way Punk will win this match is get him in the area where he has been damn fragile the most in the last 2 years, and that is the back. He also had not felt well, but heading to his return as well, which also got on the question, the doubt that he may not wrestle in this year's biggest prestigious event called WrestleMania. And then Punk, at the end of the Raw, Punk decided to do perhaps the most disrespectful way you can imagine somebody to do. Pour the entire urn filled with ashes all over on the dead man's body, and then just started to mock him like he has done with the entire build-up. That's how you build a match, whether it's disrespectful or just part of the role. One or the other, I view it as both disrespectful and disgusting. But that's what a heel would do on the occasion. That's what a heel would do. As long as the Vera family were okay with it, then they pretty much have the right to do so, unless otherwise. Undertaker, 10 years ago, competed in the only handicap match. The only time there were more than one opponent he's ever dealt with. But that was a long time ago. Honestly, 8 years ago. Now the question is, if The Undertaker wins, what will he finally honor Paul Bearer without any interruptions from Punk? Keep in mind the main stipulation. If The Undertaker gets disqualified or count out, the streak is over. That's what's at stake. Some people even thought it would be a buried alive or a casket match. That would have been an interesting matchup if it was that way. And then it would be fitting, say if The Undertaker were to lose, that would be the perfect fitting ending. But now the question is, if he were to go 21-0, could this be the last time he'll compete? What will be his farewell speech? That's an interesting one. What will he be as The Undertaker still, or will he be Mark Calloway or American Badass Undertaker? What will happen? Who knows? I cannot predict the future. I cannot tell what will happen after WrestleMania. Just have to wait and find out. But basically, some say, rumor has it that The Undertaker wants Punk to end the streak, if anything, which could be a sign that he might retire after this. Who knows? Anything can happen. It's kind of like with high school basketball, high school football. Anything can happen. It's the part of the beauty and nature of sports that we have provided, whether it's NASCAR, NFL, NBA, college, NHL, soccer, rugby, even hockey for that matter. Anything can happen. Don't disregard hockey fan. I don't mean that hockey does not bring it. Does. It's like I'm just providing the list going on and on that any sport provides the magic, the beauty and nature of anything can happen. Anything is achievable. To the conquest of being on top. Oh boy, I'm running my mouth with my catfight stuff again. Yes, Undertaker somehow, some way will be 21-0, but however, if he were to lose, I think what will come down is him getting disqualified, or he's just had enough of CM Punk. He'll try to attack him, but who knows? Maybe Kane will come and try to help him. That could happen too. Some people say that the only one that deserves to beat The Undertaker's streak is perhaps him, the Big Red Machine, the Big Red Monster. Some people say nobody deserves to beat the streak. He should retire undefeated. He'll make it solidify a legacy. But they say that keep in mind anything can happen. Look what happened to the New England Patriots against the New York Giants. They lost. Look at Notre Dame. They went undefeated. They got pummeled by Alabama. Now they're tight-tail. It's questionable whether it be first round or even second round, maybe even the third. His image has really crashed and burned since the whole girlfriend hoax, and also the question if he's ready for the pros after missing numerous plays in that national game matchup that nobody really remembers, out of the fact that Catherine Webb dominated the whole show because of Brett Musburger's love and affection for her. Don't even get me started with that topic, ladies and gentlemen. But yes, I think The Undertaker will be 21-0, but if that rumor or reality story is true that he wants Punk to end the streak, it could happen. But then, then the question is, what will Punk do next? I say the next storyline for Punk might be Brock Lesnar, or trying to get back on top in the WWE Universe, being the champion, that which he held for 434 days until The Rock beat him not once, not twice, in a controversial manner. We'll talk about The Rock in a moment. Now, the World Heavyweight Championship, the last of the top 3 matches I'll be looking for the most. And this one, I'm going to say it in 3 words, who's going to win. Alberto Del Rio. End the story. Don't even get me started. But what do you think about Jack Swagger's role as a heel? Is it bullshit, a good role, or just downright disrespectful and a little bit of a racial discrimination? This one is just it's like the battle of the borders. Battle of America and the battle of every culture of society that we live by. Everyone is equal. Don't get me started on that, because this is not a motivational speech that I love to do at school and all that. But Del Rio will find a way to win. Swagger will lose. But what's gonna happen is that Swagger will get even more angry. He has his own self-proclaimed Jack Swagger's America bullshit. I think Sepp Coulter, in my opinion, has just added something to his drink and got him so jacked up that he listens to what Coulter says. But then again, Sepp Coulter, known as Dutch Mantel or Uncle Seb, is known for. But Jack Swagger and Sepp Coulter, that pair is one of those things that cringes me, gets me under my skin. His role in this whole journey of the World Heavyweight Championship, that I want Alberto Del Rio to whoop his no good punk ass all over the place. Keep in mind, at first when I started watching it sporadically, I didn't like Del Rio that much. I thought he was just a no good loudmouth like The Miz. But since I started watching, it kind of changed quite a lot. But yes, share your own opinion. What do you think of this whole World Heavyweight Championship taken in a political standpoint, and also and how our society is from? Storyline, I understand. That's part of the whole thing. But that's why when I know it gets under my skin, I know this is gonna be pretty exciting and interesting. This one, it is one of them, because Swagger's trying to play the asshole of a role and trying to tear anybody in his path. Kind of like with Mark Henry and the Shield, to some sort, further extent. But yes, Jack Swagger and Coulter were trying to assault him, and then they try to use the Ricardo Rodriguez's crutches and whoop him, backlash him, and rape him the living hell out of him. And then after the show's over, for some people who saw the picture on Instagram or anywhere else, you saw how much damage it did to Del Rio's back. Especially the top crutch broke. And they just went too far. Now, when I think Del Rio has come here to fight, and Jack Swagger will definitely pay the consequences, pay the damage he's done to both him and his closest compartment of Ricardo. Oh my goodness. This one will be pretty personal. Business will pick up from there wherever on the card is going to be in order. But yes, Del Rio will win. End the story. Share your opinion of why he'll win, why Swagger will win, and you guys can battle it out against each other in the comments, however you want. End the story. But keep in mind, this is my personal opinion. Share your own opinion on your comment. Even make a video. That's why I'm doing this. This one I have enough details to talk about. Because, keep in mind, before we talk about the WWE Championship, the first 5 races of NASCAR, we're going to NASCAR quite a bit, so just for a brief moment. I have only watched the Daytona. The only race I watched from his entire is the Daytona 500, which was one of the most boringest one I ever seen in my career. It makes 2000 look better. Why? Because the only way it would have made it better if Johnny Benson were to win. Well, then again, I didn't watch NASCAR till 2003. It's interesting enough when Jimmy Johnson wins. Those are the two worst 500s I've witnessed. 06, they should have red flagged it for crying out loud. It looked like it rained the entire time. 12, there were a lack of passing. It was like a WWE story. And some people why. Jimmy Johnson is the John Cena of NASCAR. Danica Patrick is like the ratings grabber, like The Rock. And interesting enough, as I'm talking about it, that's where it leads me to this discussion. Their WWE Championship. The WWE Championship. Some people say The Rock is the paper champion all of a sudden because he's done movie roles. He didn't represent the WWE title at perhaps the most bullshittiest, lacklusterest Kid Choice Awards ever. And the main reason why I did not do a review of this one because I knew it was gonna be bull fucking shit and boring. He didn't hold it. Some apparently said that since Nickelodeon, the owner who owns Nickelodeon, also is associated with TNA. You know how that. You know why The Rock couldn't take the WWE title belt, probably because Nickelodeon is is associated with the whole TNA package of the company that owns it. Some people has been complaining. It's not even Rock fans want Cena to win this. Some people. No, I said some people. So take it out of context because that is not what I'm saying. But The Rock has held the championship. He's the guy that ended CM Punk's 434 title reign, the longest at 25 years. Solidified his legacy for that matter quite a bit, but I think he still has a few years under his belt. But back to The Rock. He's held the title, but he's only shown every once in a while. A lot of people have complained about that fact. Some people say that he's lost his touch from his attitude. Know your role, shut your mouth, stick it straight up your kitty ass. Except the last two appearances from SmackDown where Johnny Laurinaitis tried to join with him. But some people said, what if John Laurinaitis helps John Cena to win and Cena becomes heel? It could happen. Nobody expected Stone Cold Steve Austin to be a heel and join forces with Vince McMahon back in WrestleMania 17 at the Astrodome. Nobody expected that. But that's what WrestleMania is all about. Could it happen? Who knows? But what would it do to the universe? What would it do to the ratings if John Cena becomes heel? Who knows? Bret Hart says that he would not be a good of a heel. But then again, Bret Hart has his own opinion. And then probably the 4 out of 10 reviews could happen as well. Who knows? Because realistically, that could happen. Who knows? But yeah, some people complain about The Rock being the champion. He's just a ratings grabber, kind of like with Danica Patrick with NASCAR. Except Danica Patrick has not done well at all since the Daytona 500. She's almost to the point, and she's almost to the point of failing to qualify. She rounds out all of her provisionals. The only way she will not fail to qualify is the fact that there's only 44, 45 cars qualifying each, and even at times only 43. 10 years ago, even 9 years ago, there were 45, 48, even 57 cars qualifying a damn Sprint Cup race. Not anymore. But pretty much Danica Patrick's in the bottom in the running order of the cars remaining because the starting parks hogs up the poor results and also a couple of wrecks then and there. That could happen. But back to the people complain about The Rock. Nobody complains about The Undertaker. Probably the main reason why nobody complains about The Undertaker competing once a year is for the fact that he's not competing in a championship match like he did several years ago with Edge, to name a few, for the World Heavyweight title along with Batista when he was full-time back then. Now that he only wrestles about once a year, nobody seems to complain about it. But I understand that he's only competing for the streak or other thing, not for a championship match, which is completely different from him again with The Rock. There's also this so-called rumor as well that John Cena will win the title. There's also the so-called rumor that The Rock may hold the so-called rumor that John Cena will take time off. All these rumors, keep in mind they're either rumor or reality, but that's what I heard from the comments in the Facebook world, in the Twitter world, anywhere you want to find it. It's like the so-called possibility that Ken Shamrock will be back. Unless the Ken Shamrock, the question is, who would he be fighting? Some people want Shamrock. Some people said that Shamrock could have been bigger than The Rock. Could have been a bigger storyline than The Rock back in the day. But the people were more drawn into The Rock, the Great One, the People's Champion, more than the world's most dangerous man. That could be something. If Brock Lesnar competes with Ken Shamrock against those who have UFC background, it could be interesting if the world's most dangerous men compete with the world's strongest man, and Mark Henry. Think of what could have. That's one of the things I love about the WWE. Is what could happen. Anything can happen, whether it's predictable or not. You gotta imagine. It's kind of like imagination, your fantasies being granted or wish it will happen. And then again, some people say that about the Attitude Era as well. In our PG era that we live in these days, along with the social media prominence that we have to deal with. But yes, John Cena has dwelled so much about it. It has crossed him physically, mentally, and personally. Some people say John Cena's worst year of his career was a year ago. Couldn't beat CM Punk. Couldn't beat The Rock. He couldn't beat many other guys. He couldn't beat The Shield. What will happen to the Royal Rumble winner? It's kind of like a Goodyear friend of mine has said, let the past go. What will happen if John Cena loses? He's got to have to let it go, but I understand. It's a big deal. It's kind of like myself with prom having a day, and some other people's mind. If you don't have a day for prom, it's like you're only a pre-show. If you have a prom, it's like you're winning the Royal Rumble. If you're prom king or queen, you won WrestleMania, the WWE Championship for that matter. That's like John Cena feels. He wants to win it so bad because he knows this could be the last time that The Rock will compete. 10 years ago, Stone Cold Steve Austin had his final WrestleMania match against The Rock. Wheelchair never looked so good. This is getting pretty intense, ladies and gentlemen, as I'm trying to talk about this and then watching SportsCenter at the same time as they're talking about Kevin Ware being released from the hospital today. I gotta say, never in my lifetime have I seen a gruesome of a graphic of an injury. I've seen footage of Alex Zanardi's Racket Laws's ring losing both of his legs. I've seen Clint Malarchuk's neck being sliced and bleeding all over the place. I have seen Mankind, known as Mick Foley, do levitate shot. Well, his name is Mick Foley, being tossed 20 feet, 16 feet of that Hell in a Cell in King of the Ring in '98 through the announcer's table. Being Undertaker chokeslamming him, landing on the wrestling floor, down to the ground. I've seen graphic stuff all the time, but Kevin Ware was like, it cringed me quite a bit because it's like, thank the heaven Lord that he's released at the hospital. He'll be fine and hopefully not career ending. Even Joe Theismann will try to give him some advice. Because Theismann as well, he had the main difference from Joe Theismann and Kevin Ware's injury is that Kevin Ware dented it. It was his injury was so gruesome that the part of his bone sticked out. That is graphic. Even Louisville, or even the Louisville and the Duke personnel, even the crowd were turned away and afraid and disgusted because they never seen anything like that ever. But here's what stands out as well. Louisville being there for them. They knew they were disgust and in disbelief, but they were there to. They have their back now. They're trying to win the title for him. And that shows pure class, trust, and respect. That I acknowledge. And Matt and Kevin Ware is one tough SOB out there. And if he comes back, he's a sophomore at Louisville. If he comes back, that would be a feel-good story. And that's why I love sports. That's why a lot of people do. Seeing comebacks. Now back to the WWE with Stone Cold Steve Austin. He almost would have not fought 10 years ago. You know the whole story. He had like some pain in his personal life, kind of like with John Cena with his divorce and all of that, and obviously with Stone Cold Steve Austin with his divorce with Deborah and the whole thing back in the day. He almost would have lost his life that night, Stone Cold did. But he came back, he knew he had one more match in him, and in the end, The Rock were to be the winner of that match. But that was his Stone Cold's last WrestleMania match in his last of his career. Joining the long list of like Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels, and who knows, it could be Triple H and maybe The Undertaker, and even perhaps The Rock could have his last match ever. Who knows? But if The Rock were to lose, he'd be apparent guarantee. A rumor has it that he will lose, but those are just rumors I've already mentioned time and time again. But yes, that's the bottom line. John Cena against The Rock, redemption against greatness, twice in a lifetime, if you want to call it. Well, it's a rare thing that the same two wrestlers main event WrestleMania. The big picture. You have a couple main events, but you have the one big one that everybody pays attention on, and that's what's last year and this year. But in the end, who would I pick this one? This one could go either way. I'm not gonna really pick one. It could go either way, but I will not be surprised one way or the other who wins. Will I really care for it? Not really. That's just simple. Not really. But I'm just wondering what will happen. What will happen if John Cena turns heel? What will happen if The Rock wins again? But you gotta get the point. You gotta get the point, ladies and gentlemen. Anything can happen. Whether it's been the most predictable couple years ever, kind of like with NASCAR, sort of, with Jimmy Johnson winning the title, except the last two, he has not won the title. In fact, Brad Keselowski, when he won the title last year, he became the first driver not named Tony Stewart or Jimmy Johnson to win the biggest prize in Sprint Cup since Kurt Busch in 2004. In fact, only the third driver not named Tony Stewart and Jimmy Johnson to win the Cup title, Kenseth, Busch, and Keselowski 03, 04, and 12 respectively. I gotta test you a lot, but enough with NASCAR just a second. This is WrestleMania 29, the biggest pay-per-view of the year, perhaps the end of a lot of things. If you look at it, it could go either way. Even some people said that John Cena doesn't deserve to be in the Attitude Era. He said that he doesn't belong. I say some people said that Thuganomics John Cena could have a shot at be fitting into the Attitude Era. Then that's what they say about CM Punk as a whole. But personally, what happened in the Attitude Era stays in the Attitude Era. Whatever made him in the Attitude Era is forever solidified in that era. But then again, as I mentioned, that's what they think. That's their own imagination or fantasy. What would happen if Punk was in the Attitude Era? What would happen if Thuganomics era was in the Attitude Era? Share your opinion. I've seen a lot of opinions about it, from the Attitude Era page to the We Want the Attitude Era back page, the WWE memes page. It's all interesting yet exciting stuff to read about, because it's like, it's their own opinion. I have my opinion, you have their own opinion. That's why I'm encouraging you to comment about it. Anything can happen, ladies and gentlemen. That's the bottom line. But that's pretty much it. This has been the WWE WrestleMania 29 preview by Auto Rockin' Racing 94. What will happen to me in the near future? I already said that last year and nothing much. Hopefully I'll make more videos in the long run. Hope I'll post more. Even talk about previews, reviews, or anything that I have in mind in my brilliant head. Or sometimes questionable thoughts. But once again, be sure to like. Be sure to like People Against Fandango. And also, the 4th annual Cat Fight will be uploaded at around May if time allows me on the TNN Sports 94 channel, my other one. But until we meet again, keep on dreaming and never back down from a challenge. So long, everybody, and this has been my review.